Hey, Happy New Year's, everybody. You'll have to forgive me. I've got a little bit of a stuffy nose, just cold season, I guess. But lately, people have been asking me about two things. The first is how I die, what kind of things normally kill me open world, and the second are some tips for surviving in the open world. I figured these two questions are, obviously pretty closely entwined, so I can do them all in one video. So, in this video, I want to talk about some common deaths that occur in open world gameplay, how to avoid them, and how to take the deaths that you do have and learn from them as best as possible. First, it's important to know that there is no stigma to dying, at least from me. As a Stamblade, you can pretty much survive indefinitely in open world as long as you're building correctly. But that's certainly not the best way to play the game. If you want to improve, you should be taking calculated risks and always aiming higher. There are many fights that I could escape, but I'll risk death in order to push myself and hopefully get a sweet clip out of it. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to assume that you have your build sorted out and that you're really happy with it. If you're not and you want some recommendations for setups, please feel free to check out any of my other videos, and there are several other creators. And ultimately, your build is going to come down to your own preferences, but I'm going to talk about everything kind of in context of the builds that I make, and I'll throw some links to builds down in the description. With that being said, there are two main reasons that I think Nightblades die in open world. The first one is that you get bursted, and the second one is that you run out of resources. It's important to recognize how you usually die and improve your gameplay around those principles. I like to look at the above deaths in light of the circumstances, namely, are you fighting one player or many? If you're getting bursted in 1v1 situations, then the problem is going to be either your build or your skills. Everyone gets bursted sometimes, but if it's happening consistently, it might be worth reevaluating your setup. On the other hand, you may look at your death recap and be stunned at how many attacks hit you. If you're at this point on your journey, then it might be best to practice some combos on a target dummy until you can do the same thing. You want to be able to complete a 3 to 4 hit combo, including light attack weaves and bash cancels, really without even thinking about it. It should be second nature. Keep in mind that PvP doesn't have a rotation. Instead, you'll be relying on spammables and combos. Your spammables are abilities like poison injection and surprise attack, while combos are going to be things like assassin scourge into incap into killer's blade. If you're getting bursted by many people, then it might not be a build issue or combos. It probably has to do with your positioning on the battlefield or your ability to kite effectively. These are the most typical deaths for me. I'll either underestimate individuals in a group, or I'll make a positional mistake, or I'll miscalculate how many people are actually coming at me. When you're fighting outnumbered, you're always on the verge of being bursted. It's important to keep an eye out for indicators of danger. I usually err on the side of repositioning early in a fight, but the longer you play, the more comfortable you'll be with recognizing your own danger points and knowing exactly what your limits are and when you should be retreating and repositioning. The next common reason that people die is that they run out of resources. In my opinion, this is rarely a build problem, but a skill problem. When you run out of resources, most likely one of two things have occurred. First, you've probably overcasted your buffs, or secondly, you're relying too much on defense. Defensive skills not only cost more than offensive skills, but they usually accompany a playstyle of avoidance, which lowers your light attack count, and therefore the number of ultimates that you're going to have. And ultimates are really important to your recovery because they can turn the tide of a fight, allowing you to go offensive and forcing your opponent to defend. And they also have no resource cost, so you can cast them without using resources. Going on the offensive means that you can take advantage of light attack weaving, so if you're using something like leeching strikes, you're going to get a lot more resources back if you can light attack. The most common issue I see is people overcasting their buffs, particularly buffs like Shuffle, which is typically the most expensive skill that Stamblades have on their bar. For this, I recommend getting an add-on that tracks your buff timers that you can actually read. I usually steer people away from add-ons like Surrendar because it's a bit of an information overload. You need to actually see when buffs are expiring. Console players are limited to their own senses and they don't have add-ons to help them. So getting used to recognizing what your buffs look like and casting them right after they end is a good idea. I also like to recommend that players cast their buffs in a consistent order, typically from the longest lasting to the shortest. That way they have a closer expiration time and you can cast your buffs all at once instead of having to micromanage them throughout a fight. The rest comes down to practicing when to run away and when to engage. You'll be able to engage more often as you become more comfortable with your combos and your own limitations in terms of defense and sustain. But with that, let's look at some clips. So you may recognize this clip as being the one from the intro, and it's also one that I used in one of my PvP montages. Sometimes I do die at the end of a PvP montage clip, But, you know, that's just how it goes. Sometimes you die. And there's no problem with that if you're challenging yourself and trying to be a better player. I like this clip for this video because I think there's a very clear moment where I make a mistake, and it's very visual and easy to see. As you can see right now, I'm running back and forth trying to string out the number of people. And there I get hit by this magic DK. So I know that I'm in trouble of being snared. I know that there's a hard CC and he's out there and he's on the prowl. I can't relax. I want to get each person alone so I can one-shot them like this. But when these two come by, I try to fear and I see all of these people. This is the cue here that I'm in serious trouble. So I roll dodge away, I start moving, but I'm going to run out of stam quickly, and here I get CC'd, so I know that the Magic DK is with them and that I can't stay in one place. So I have to use my speed and my current resistance to get away. But I see this guy up here, I stop, make a really slow decision to fight him, then I get caught by that CC that I knew was there, and now I've lost the fight. And that's all because I knew that there were people there, and there were a lot of them, and I knew there was a CC coming, and now I'm getting bagged. In this fight, things are a little bit different. There's a similar setup. I'm fighting a similar number of enemies in a similar situation on this tower. And here, I'm doing a pretty good job of stringing them out so they come one at a time. I kill one, and then I fight the next one. And this is a format that I really like for 1vxing because you're relatively safe, and if you get overwhelmed, you can just retreat. The problem is if people don't respawn, and I kind of prefer when they don't because then you get this nice pile of bodies, but if they don't, when you're forced to retreat, which sometimes is inevitable, like here, there's no way I can stay around. I've got no stamina, I'm outnumbered, they've got multiple healers, I have to run. And I know because they didn't chase me that they're all getting revived. So I can think in my head, like the number of people that were there, and I know, so now I'm probably fighting 8 people instead of 4. And they have the healers, they have the same situation they did before. The only difference is that now, hopefully, I'll have enough stamina to kill them quickly and be able to keep fighting. I like it when people try and res while I'm still fighting them, but as you can see, they all have reses, and so here I make a very different decision. I kill him really quickly instead of slowly, and then I jump off the side instead of running back through the tower. Then I do a very different rotation around the tower to mix it up from what I was doing before, so they have a much harder time following me. And this part of the game is all about patience. I know there are a lot of them. I know they're very thirsty. They really want me to die. So I'm not going to take my time anywhere. I'm just going to keep moving and stringing them out. Eventually, one of them will be faster than the others, and I'll be able to kill him too. If you are still watching, thank you. I was going to do the outro, but my beautiful wife wanted to do it instead. Say goodbye.
Bye!
As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and you are also free to join my Discord. I'm not picky on alliances. I'm not even picky on the platform that you play on, but feel free to join me in Discord if you have any questions. I also respond to all of the comments. I really appreciate the support, and I will catch you guys later.